How's it going, friends? Today we're going to be talking about two very interesting aspects concerning media in today's modern world. I'm Keith Anderson.
I'm Jack Ryan.
And the first thing we're going to be talking about is Marshall McLuhan's article, The Medium is the Message.
And what we're going to be doing specifically is analyzing the title, because that's really where the bulk of it lies, and trying to define that and understand what he's talking about there, because it is very dense and complex. In order to do that, we need to define three things before we can tackle the question.
The three things being medium, message, and content. Medium, according to the author, is the vessel used to convey the message. This can be anything from a TV to a train to a letter. Anything can be a medium.
The message, in context to the article, is in very simple terms a change in pace or trend in society or culture.
And the third thing that you need to take into consideration is the content. Content are the irrelevant variables between the medium and the message. To tie it all together, one example that the author gives is an example of a light bulb. A light bulb is a medium.
And the message would not be that a light bulb lights up and it lights a room. It would be how it impacts culture. So you have the ability to work at night, you have the ability to travel at night, you have the ability to run electric machines, and the economic and social influences it's going to have.
And the content between the medium and the message would be the various uses that a light bulb has, like lighting a living room so you and your friends can play Jenga tomorrow night, or lighting a stadium so spectators can watch a sporting event. That would fall under the category of the content that the author would be analyzing between the medium and the message. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the computer application of Skype and how you can apply the medium as the message to such a popular program such as that. Welcome back, you cool cats.
We are true to our word, and now we are going to talk about Skype and use it to better comprehend this concept of a medium being the message itself. So if you look at Skype, very popular software, you've all used it probably. On the surface, people would probably say it's a way to keep in touch with people. You can see someone's face while not being in the same room as them or even the same country. But in order to understand it in terms of the medium being the message, we have to look at the impact it has on culture.
For example, Skype has completely revolutionized the way that people do business now. For example, say you had to conduct a meeting in another country. Normally you'd have to board a plane, go through customs, they seize your shampoo, etc., boom, you're finally there several expenditures later. Now with Skype, corporations can conduct business through a webcam, and it's completely revolutionized the way of how we conceive the business model, which is a huge aspect in today's modern world.
And even on a smaller scale, if we compare it to something like family life, especially us college kids, I know I would be home way more often without Skype if I didn't get to see my parents' faces, my siblings' faces. But because we have that, it makes me less likely to travel home and go see them, and that's a shift in my culture, my lifestyle.
So these are just two shifts that would comply with the message aspect, and the content of Skype would basically be how it's used. I mean, whether it's to say hey, catch up with a loved one's day, anything, that would be the content. But these two models of business and family norms that have now shifted because of this technology, that would be the message in this medium is the message.
Alright, so the second thing we wanted to talk about was this game called Passage by a man named Jason Rohrer. And it's a very simple game. You start out as presumably a young boy. You travel from left to right. You can also go down and explore. But whichever way you go, the more steps you take, you're going to get older. And eventually you will reach death.
You die.
And what we're going to do is apply the 4 principles of new media to the game to showcase why it is a piece of new media.
Those fun 4 principles being variability, numerical representation, modularity, and automation.
Numerical representation is probably the easiest to use as an example, because all that's saying is that the piece of media can be boiled down to an algorithm. And a video game is, like all computer software, just binary code. It is a combination of zeros and ones. And all that's doing is telling various components to be on or to be off. Obviously, coding is a little more complex than that, but ultimately it all boils down to an algorithm.
The second principle would be variability. Now, as we mentioned before, the player can move down, right, and the further you progress in the game, in some cases you can even go backwards. Now, how this factors into variability is because no two players will have the same experience. You'll make different choices, you'll go different paths, you'll die at different times, not to be morbid, but that is how this variability principle factors into passage.
Alright, next we have automation, which also happens to be a simple one. And it's saying that the computer can automate an effect on something. So an example to make that simpler would be Photoshop. You can easily apply a filter to a photo, and it's going to change the appearance of that photo. In terms of the game, it's simple because the controls are just the arrow keys, but for example, the chest that you can access in the game, if you step on the chest, it's going to open. It's going to do the animation to open. So even though your input is pretty small, all you're doing is pressing up to get to the chest, it's still automating that response of opening the chest.
And the fourth and final principle would be modularity. What that means is it is the various components that make up this form of media in and of itself. So the various components could be your tragically aging little avatar, the colors, the sounds, the backgrounds, everything that's compiled into the components that make up this game is what this principle stands for.
And that is all we wanted to cover in this blog, video, response, journal article. It was super dense content. If we knew what we were getting into, we probably would have chosen another week.
You can anchor a boat with it.
But hopefully we did a good job. And any final words?
Yeah, that about wraps up our one and done video blog. If you'd like any more information concerning new media, why not pick up a copy of Clay Shirky's Here Comes Everybody. I'm Keith Anderson.
I'm Jack Ryan.
Good night, world.